Yeah, let me start sharing my screen. If it will work for me, can this get larger, please? Okay, hold on. Sorry. Brilliant. Could someone just confirm at home whether they can see our screen?
Yes, we can.
Brilliant, thank you. So, we are going to be discussing chapter 50, which is called The Honor Due to Parents. Before we start that, would you like to say a word of prayer? And let's all get started.
Absolutely. If you'll join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the week that you have brought us through and for the Sabbath day of rest you have blessed upon us, and that we have been able to come through this and have travelling mercies to and from our places of worship. Pray for those who are still travelling. Pray that you are with those in need, and I pray that anything that comes out of our mouths will be uh, to your pleasing, and that we will only say things that are inspired by you. Pray these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. So we'll get started. Oop, if this will go. There we go. So the children's indebtedness to parents.
Do you want me to start reading?
I can do it.
Okay.
So children should feel that they are indebted to their parents who have watched over them in infancy and nursed them in sickness. They should realize that their parents have suffered much anxiety on their account, especially with conscientious, godly parents felt the deepest interest that their children should take a right course. As they have seen faults in their children, how heavy have been their hearts. If the children who caused those hearts to ache could see the effects of their course, they would certainly relent. If they could see their mother's tears and hear her prayers to God in their behalf, if they could listen to their suppressed and broken sighs, their hearts would feel, and they would speedily confess their wrongs and ask to be forgiven. Children, when they become of age, will prize the parents who labored faithfully and would not permit them to cherish wrong feelings or indulge in evil habits.
Very strong start to the opening chapter. If we pause there, so we'll basically go by what we've got on the slide, and then we've got some questions in mind regarding what's been read. So, first of all, I'm really interested in the use of language that Ellen G. White is giving us for this section here. So, quite strong words and um, particularly words that maybe I wouldn't have thought of myself. And then I sort of would love to hear a discussion on how you think these words apply, or would we still use these words? Obviously, being written in a different time to the time we're living in now, is there a different word that you might use in substitution? But children indebted to their parents. So the parents have suffered anxiety. So would we say indebted is the right word here? Well, not saying the right word, but what do we think is being meant by the term indebted? So if a child is indebted to their parents, would anyone like to jump in before I do my own spiel? Lovely, Totty twins, go ahead.
If you're indebted to somebody, you owe them something, and they owe the. I mean, the parents have kept them, they've brought them up, they've brought them up for little babies, they've changed the nappies and everything, and they certainly owe them, they owe them to be decent with them and respect them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, hitting it on the head with what indebted is. So if you're indebted to something, then you owe it. And in the case of owing here, yeah, were it not for your parents, you wouldn't make it beyond the very beginnings, the very early stages. So definitely there's something there to be owed. Renan and Anne, thank you, Dr. Twins.
Yeah. If you recall, the commandment, the fifth commandment says you should honor your mother and your father so that your days may be long on this earth. That's a command and a promise at the same time.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, that commandment came straight after to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all of those things, the fourth commandment. So you see the seriousness that God's God intended for children to look after their parents. Because if you look at the olden culture, it was children who looked after the aged parents, you know. You're not talking like, your parents demanding this and demand, but it's your duty as children to look after your elderly parents. And that's the word of God. And it goes back from day one. If you look in the laws of Moses that Moses gave, it told people how to look after their family, their parents, especially the aged parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you've read my notes because the next thing I was going to talk about was how does this all lead to the seriousness of the duty, which are two words that you've just used. Um, it all points to the fact that this is obviously a very big deal and a very serious topic. The fact that if you're in debt, it's a real thing that you have to be considerate of. It's not something taken sort of off off the fly. That was the right phrase, I don't know. Where you can't just treat it as, oh yeah, my parents. Like it's definitely something where you need to be serious, considerate, understanding, and there's weight to it. That's the main thing I'm trying. There's weight to it. It's not just a offhanded thing.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Renan. Talk to twins again.
There's a couple of, it reminds me of a couple of sayings. One is you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and the other one is you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Absolutely. I do love that. I think those phrases are phrases that I use probably too often, but I really do like that, and I like the link we're making there. It's a really good point. I thank you for that. Um, so in terms of I mentioned that it's written at a different sort of time, but in terms of we're reading this now, several decades, centuries since the writing, how persuasive do you think the this is towards the seriousness of it? Like, does this strike home? Does it
It
open the mind?
is still applicable today because it is part of the Ten Commandments that you should honor your mother and your father, that your days may be long on the earth. So even today, it is still the same because the commandments of God still stand and it stands forevermore. So you have parents, children, they have to be intentional. Just as when we're serving God, we have to be intentional.
Yeah.
So it's the same principle. And that's the reason why it's the fifth commandment. You're showing how important it is.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, I think you could also there was something we were thinking as we were going, or it might come up again later on, but it's the fact that this is the first commandment that is a promise. Is that the right phrase?
Yes, it's a
Uh,
commandment. Yeah, one, two, and not the other. Because the first with promise is the only one.
Yeah, that comes with something
Yes, that's
after.
it. Yeah. So that again tells you the seriousness of it, and it highlights how important this is as a commandment, and the context of where that commandment came from, the time in which it came, and how it applied 200 years ago, and it applies now, it applied thousands of years ago when it was first instated. So
Mm,
yeah, absolutely, it conveys the seriousness and still the applicability of it today.
mm. I think when you first read this, there is that not shock factor to it, but seeing that the child's indebtedness to their parents, the word debt to this day is it's a heavy word.
It's
Like
got
you said,
negative connotations.
exactly.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like, you owe them everything. Well, in actual fact, yes, it is that you do owe them. You owe them the life that they've given you, and in return, you'll live your life not it's not serving them, but it is serving them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
It's that everything that you do now is a reflection of your family, of your parents, and you're going to honor them, you're going to listen to them, and you're going to be what God wants you to be, which ultimately is what they've taught you to be, if
Mm.
that's the path that they're on. Yes, mom and dad.
Yeah, but also parents also they need to be reasonable too, because even though you have parents, because God said that the children should look after them, they're very thoughtless. They don't think their children, if their children have family, that at the end of the day too, their family is very important. And we've known where parents just it's just ever there's always well, sometimes it's not even a need. There's always a want. They just want. And we have to, as parents, have balance.
Yeah.
Mm. And something,
I
go on, sorry, go on, Ben.
I think that when you're indebted to that to your parents, I think most parents what they look for is respect.
Mm.
Which you don't have to
Have
give
money.
all of these stuff. All the parents need is respect. Like us, we don't really need anything from our children. All we need from our children is respect. You respect and honor your parents, as
Love
God
and
says. And once you can do that, then we all will have a good love relationship. Um, and this is what God is actually wanting from us. Honor your father and your mother. He didn't say, okay, well, yes, you have to take care of them fully. No, honor them. But, all depends on our circumstances. Some of us might have it and some don't. So that is the way, that is how, once it happened that way, then children would have to use
But you
their
can't be,
conscience.
children will
Will have to use their conscience.
parents as well.
Yes, both. They go both ways. Where the parent children, once they have it, they will have to help out the situation.
Mm. I think one thing I started to think about as both you were talking there and what you said before the comment as well is that um, you don't want it to be like a transactional thing. Like it shouldn't be oh, I have to love or respect this person,
It
but
should come
it should
naturally.
be a natural like desire,
Mm.
like and it's giving thanks. Thank you for the life you've given me. Thank you for the food you've provided, and then thanks to God for the opportunities and like it's about that respect. Like
Yeah.
giving thanks is a respect.
Yeah.
Um, so I think yeah, very very good points on the whole across the board there. I don't know if that refers to this part here or if I've mentioned that in a different part. Um, Go to the next paragraph and we'll see if my question for that one comes up. So our next segment says that honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. This is the first commandment with promise. It is binding upon childhood and youth, upon the middle aged and the aged. There is no period in life when children are excused from honoring their parents. This solemn obligation is binding upon every son and daughter, and is one of the conditions to their prolonging their lives upon the land which the Lord will give the faithful. This is not a subject unworthy of notice, but a matter of vital importance. The promise is upon condition of obedience. If you obey, you shall live long in the land which the Lord your God gives you. If you disobey, you shall not prolong your life in that land. Um, so this is kind of touched on a lot of what we've said already about the fifth commandment, the commandment with a promise. Um, but in particular, highlighting this is not something to be gone under the radar as such. It's actually extremely important. Like this is conditional.
Mm.
Um, it's a well-known fact that if you do something, there's going to be a reaction or a consequence to it. So in the case of this, if you obey, then good thing will be granted unto you. If, however, you do not obey, then there will be something. Whether that means, in this case, the not prolonging of a life in that land, or whether that's another sanction that someone deems fit, it could be taken away of something that you enjoy, or it could be the minimizing of something else. It's at the parent's discretion in that situation. But it's definitely something that now it sounds more conditional, which sounds contradictory to what I've already said, but now it sounds a bit more conditional, and where it still shouldn't be a transactional thing, but it's definitely something to be respectful and mindful of. If you want that thing to go well, you have to be respectful and listen. I see your hand up, Renan. Go ahead.
And it's just like when God says to honor your mother, your parents, yeah. It's just some people have their parents and their age and they can't be bothered. They will put them in homes, or if they go into like homes, they don't go and visit them and things like that. That's ungratefulness, and that is breaking the commandment of God. You're neglecting your duty as
Mm.
children.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid neglect. That's definitely not something that anyone would want for anyone. And I think even so the question note that I've got here that I'm trying to work out whereabouts it sort of ties in, but honoring your parents is a foundation for all other relationships. And I think this is a very good point to make because, like you said about the way you treat family, like it's a reflection. So when I meet people, the way they are tells me about how they are elsewhere. So it's an important detail. And truthfully the first relationship you form, therefore it has to be cemented in something
Fermented.
solid. It definitely needs to be something that's cemented in something that's solid, like a solid foundation, so
Mm,
that when you go out into the world and you meet other people, that strong foundation of respect with your parents
mm.
is then spread to other people and respect for them as well.
I think for me, what you were saying just there is actually very important because it's something when you and I were dating, I would look at how is it that you treat your family?
Mm.
So, what kind of love do you show towards your parents, if there is any love that you do show? And you could tell that,
Don't say if.
hey, at the time it was a if, I didn't know. But you could see that you had that utmost respect for your parents. You
Mm.
had that love for your sister. You could tell that family was incredibly important to you. And I think that's where it says about it being a foundation. The way that you love and you honor your parents then reflects how you will then treat those going forward. It's how you're going to be in your life. Are you going to be selfless? Are you going to be selfish? Are you going to be full of attitude, full of hate and anger, or full of love and affection and caring and
Compassion, yeah.
selflessness? So, sorry, I can see mum, dad, your hands up. You're muted.
You
Just kidding.
there's a saying that say parents know best, and parents knows best. That is the reason why God has said that your days may be long. Honor your mother and father, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Your parents have gone through a lot of experiences in life, and because they have gone through that, they can able to tell you what is right from wrong. That is why God is saying, look, honor them, listen to them, because what they are telling you, it is the right thing. And that is and because of some children will listen to that, it saved their life, that their life been prolonged on the earth, and they're able to have stuff and able to do stuff. And many of them who disobey and they go their own way, you can see sometimes how this what is befall them in life. Many of my friends, never listened to their parents, never, wanted to, and they're not here anymore. They're gone. If they were honoring their parents, listening to their parents, listening to the instruction given them, they probably would be around today, but their life been cut short. That is why the Lord is saying, look, honor them, honor your parents, honor God, honor your parents.
One of the things, as you were talking, Abigail, when I met your dad, one of the things I liked, and I, looking from the outside in, I saw how he treated his mother, his love for his mother. And if you find somebody that loves their parents, it speaks volume.
Mm,
If a man doesn't like his mother and his father, big problem. That's a big red flag.
mm,
If he can't love his mother and father, how can he love you and have respect for you?
mm.
And that was one of the things I saw in Ren, that look, he loved his mother, so I know there's room. I know how he will treat me because it's a reflection
Mm.
on how that man will treat you. If he treats his mom bad and his dad, trust me, he's going to treat you the same.
Exactly. So I think that's where that question tied in quite well, actually, because you were looking at it like, why did I write this? But it makes sense. So the kind of love and respect that you give to your parents is ultimately
It's
what
a
you're
reflection of everything
exactly.
else, yeah, that follows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and um,
And maybe that's why even where that promise ties in as well, it's not just about the physical land that you're in, it's then for generations to come after, it's showing that your life will be prolonged. The example that you
yeah,
set,
your
that
name.
exactly those things will be prolonged. I think about when we were talking in the car, what did we say about we look at the people that we marry and there's parts of our own parents or stuff like that
Yeah,
that's in
yeah.
them. So I would say that you're quite like my dad, and you would say that I'm quite like your mum in
Mm.
character. I'm not saying that they look like each other, by the way, they don't. That's weird.
Subtle differences.
But it's but it's the character within them. Those are things that you can see. And I
Yeah.
think when I look there, that's how I see the prolonging their lives upon the land. It's not just about mortality in that moment. It's
Mm.
about legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like there's more there, but I know I'm happy with where that is. I
Yeah,
like
let's leave
that.
it
I
there.
like
That was
that.
that felt smart. Leave it there.
Um, cool. Yeah, I've got another question for a little bit later on. I'll come back to that later.
Mm.
Um, happy to move on to the next point
But
and let
sorry, Thomas, but you
okay.
notice the Bible, the command didn't say, honor your father and your mother if they're good. It's just blanket. Whether they're good or they're bad, you still have to honor them.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think
But
later
there
on
would be
in
a
life it's a
limit,
bit more.
but you still have to show respect
Mm.
no matter what.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
And
'Cause
we said that in the car a little bit as well. We were
mm,
saying like not everyone gets necessarily the nicest childhood. Not everyone gets the nicest parents.
mm,
But it's a matter of respect and there is still gratitude for some things to be
yeah.
given. And if you can respect them and love your neighbor no matter what, it still sets you up in a good way to be a light and spread that kindness.
Mm.
Um, Obviously it's easier said than done in many cases, but it's something that we learn and something that we can develop through time, especially through the example set to us.
Yeah,
So it's all about being that light to shine onto others.
brilliant. Would you like to move on to the next?
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit more to this.
Why is there a second bullet point there?
That's my fault, how I
Okay, no
separated it.
worries, cool. So we're still on a command binding on all. So parents are entitled to a degree of love and respect which is due to no other person. God Himself, who has placed upon them a responsibility for the souls committed to their charge, has ordained that during the earlier years of life, parents shall stand in the place of God to their children, and he who rejects the rightful authority of his parents is rejecting the authority of God. The fifth commandment requires children not only to yield respect, submission, and obedience to their parents, but also to give them love and tenderness, to lighten their cares, to guard their reputation, and to succor and comfort them in old age.
Mm.
And this is where, so my next question comes in, which is the fact that the parents have taken the place of God to their children. So this is I think one of the easier ways to understand the idea of God the Father is because you think of a parent. So it makes total sense that then you would have a parent being that figure initially. And it's about scale. If you don't respect your earthly parent for the things they do, like giving you food or for buying you clothes and shelter above your head, then it obviously sets up a bit of a problem with respect to, well, God created everything for you. And it's
Mm.
about that different scale of things. So you've got on the one hand earthly parent, and then you've got God the Father who's made everything possible.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a question now. I feel like I've answered my own question. Sorry. How did I phrase it? Oh, well, just simply, how would you respond to the idea of parents standing in the place of God to their children? And is there any way it could be misinterpreted or lead to confusion, or is it quite self-explanatory, or we can make sense of it?
I think at first it felt a bit confusing at first when I'd first heard it because I was like, we can't put man in place of God. But
Mm,
that's not what's trying to be said here. It's like you said, that example has to be set. The experience of God that children get is through you at first.
mm,
That's how they build that foundation and they find that love for God. You then, once they're introduced to God properly, they'll then go, well, my love for God must be more than you, but I still respect you.
mm.
That's what I would say, maybe. But I might be wrong. Twins.
Yes, a baby like your baby, you can't tell them about God now because they can't understand, but they see you. You're the people that they look to,
The example.
the example. And but as it gets older, as she gets older, you'll be able to show her God, through
Yeah.
creation and talk to her about His Word and things like that. But it's because they can only comprehend so much as babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as they get older, then you show them, the right way. You show them how to love God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a level of maturity that you need as well
Yeah,
Yeah.
to
yeah,
be able to comprehend that. Like you said, the understanding is one thing, but also comprehension is another because
that's right.
it's one thing to know something,
Mm.
but to then be able to sort of read between the lines or see behind it or understand fully the gravitas of a situation,
Mm.
that's something that comes with maturity, and that's something that they learn through our example.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Nice.
yeah. There was another thing I was going to say, and I feel like I've forgotten it. I should start writing stuff down more.
Yep.
Um, is there another hand up while I'm trying to rejig my memory? Ah, yeah. So it's the idea that a lot of people struggle, I think, with belief because they don't understand the bad stuff that happens in the world. Um, and the idea of, God being loving, but like parents are loving. Parents love their children, and because of their love, that's why they will sanction a bad behavior. That's why they will put in place something, and God is no way different to that. So we are given a set of rules, and there's a consequence and a whatever for your actions based on your obedience or lack of obedience.
Mm.
And it's the fact that at a very young age, yes, we are in that place first. We are that authoritative figure who sets the record straight, and then they go, okay, cool, here's how it works. They learn, understand, and then we go, right now, actually, there's someone above me. There's someone better than me, higher than me, more powerful than me, and then you just introduce it that way. But this is why we stand in first,
Mm.
because it's about the understanding again.
Yeah.
But yeah, something that I always think people struggle, especially when I'm teaching lessons, especially at school, they will struggle with the idea of, well, if God is this loving father figure, why do these things happen? It's like, well, it happens on earth too.
Yeah. But it's almost like we don't question when our own parents do it. But because God is that,
So unlike us in
yeah,
terms of incomprehensible.
yeah, you can't think that, well, God will allow such bad things to happen. Well, no. Or like we look at God in the Bible, we look at the what we describe as the Old Testament God, where he was punishing people that were doing
Sniping
wrong.
places
But
and yeah.
the same way that my parents would tell me off if I've done something wrong.
And the interesting thing there is that they don't children do not hate you for it.
No.
I've, removed kids from classrooms. Next day, morning, sir. Like they don't hate you for enacting that sort of stuff. So they
Yeah.
do have respect and understanding in that regard of rules and consequence. Elder Caesar.
Yeah. And in that reading that they have there, that you have up there, it says, hold on, let me find where I'm at. It says, hold on. He who rejects the yeah, and he who rejects the rightful authority of his parents is rejecting the authority of God. The fifth
Yeah.
commandment requires children not only to yield respect, submission, obedience of God
To their parents.
to their parents, but also to give them love and tenderness to lighten their cares, to guard their reputation and succor and comfort them in old age. You see, I like the part where it says, and he who rejected the rightful authority of their parents is rejecting the authority of God. And that is so true. That is so true. That is why I said earlier on that, many friends that I had many years ago, because they disrespect their parents, not listening to what they say, the guidance that they would give them in life. They're no more around, they're gone. That is why the commandments say that, that your days honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And it is true. The commandments is true. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to say on this slide?
Let me refer to my notes.
You know what I like?
Go on.
I like that bit that says, comfort them in old age. You didn't say while they're young, because some people, as we get older, people becomes more and more lonely, isn't it? And just sometimes having someone there to sit and talk with is just like my auntie. My auntie raised us as her own, and the joy that my auntie B gets just for us to. She calls me every day.
Mm.
You would think I don't speak to her every day, and she would call me. Did I call you earlier on today? Yes, you
You did.
we start another set of chatting, and my aunt is 71. But this is the time when my aunt was younger, she don't need nobody. She's busy. You know what I mean? But now that she's getting older, she wants to know that, she's loved by her nieces and nephews, especially her niece and her children. But
Mm.
especially to me, her niece, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we have such a close bond.
Mm.
So, God knows why, these words are given, these counsels are given to comfort them. Because sometimes when my auntie calls, we spoke the same thing yesterday. She tell me the same thing, but I don't mind. I still have a little, chuckle about it with her. I say, you told me that yesterday, don't you? And it's just comforting for her to know that, she can pick up the phone and
Mm.
call and just say hello. You know what I mean? And vice versa, I can do the same.
Mm.
That's nice to point out the sort of the two-way nature of it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I've on my own side, and I'm still getting better at it, but on my side, I think the since having Brielle especially, I think I'm more likely to lean a bit more on my parents. So like I'll just call mum randomly. If something's going on, I'll be like, mum, like with like work this week and there was something going on, I instead of just having a proper meltdown about it, I just messaged my mum straight away, like I need to talk to my mum. Like my brain went straight to this is what I need because I know that my mum's got that love, she's got that tenderness, and she has my best interest at heart. So going to you, it felt like it was the right thing to do. I think at that moment, even mum looked at me and went, "Good on you for coming to me. I like that." Well, I'd hope you would say that, and mum, correct me if I'm wrong. But it felt nice to be in that position now.
Oh, jolly, yes.
Thanks for the verification there, mum. But it's nice, like growing up now, you're starting to really see the importance of it. That first relationship that was built from when we were younger, as you get older, you really start to see the necessity of it. It's really unfortunate that it's taken getting older to see it.
Always the way, though. Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. Anyways, let me not jump into this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next slide.
I'll carry on here. So God cannot prosper those who go directly contrary to the plainest duty specified in his word, the duty of children to their parents. If they disrespect and dishonor their earthly parents, they will not respect and love their Creator.
Mm.
When children have unbelieving parents and their commands contradict the requirements of Christ, then, painful though it may be, they must obey God and trust the consequences with Him. And this very nicely adds on to what we were already talking about earlier, that if you're not regarding your earthly parents well, you're not going to regard the Creator.
Yeah.
So it does show you the placeholder that a human parent has,
Yeah.
and it shows you the kind of stepping stone that then prepares for them. And as it happens, if they are unbelieving and they say one thing, but we know God's word says the other, then you follow God, and there will be a consequence that the earthly parent delivers, and that could be simple or not so simple, but you can trust that at least you've done right by God, and therefore, the reward there will always outweigh whatever consequence you get here.
Mm.
Have you read this already? The on the screen.
Yeah, we just read it out.
Okay. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier on to you, Thomas, that even if we don't have, as we call it, good parents,
Mm.
we still have to honor them.
Mm.
It's just like a child with a bad parent, and the parents would just give her a good smacking. But 2 minutes later, she called the same parents who just really destroyed you, will call you. And the
Mm.
child won't even, it's as if the child didn't get the beating before, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the kind of mind we need to have, Christ expect from us.
Exactly. Um, I like I actually really like this slide.
Yeah, this is a
This
really
slide
lovely
is quite
section. I
nice.
think this is the it's also like just the plainest and like this makes sense to everyone. I think this is a really punchy way of getting the message across,
Mm.
and it's what we've been saying in different tones, but all in one, all encompassing.
Yeah, because this bit here is like if they disrespect and dishonor their earthly parents, they will not respect and love their creator, which is so true. If you can't love what's tangible and in front of you, how can you then love something that not that it's harder to believe. It's not harder to believe in God as someone that does believe in
Hmm.
him, but to then grasp and obey
But if
someone that
you
you can't always hear, you
hmm,
can't always see.
yeah.
But you've got someone right in front of you that you can see, hear, touch.
But also if I love my creator, I'll
Mm.
love his creation. So if I'm
Ooh,
respecting my parent, then it shows respect for the creator himself as well in the same one. So
delicious. That's great. Um, and then this bit here, which is, that there could be consequence when disobeying your parents, but the disobedience doesn't come from disobeying anything that they say. It's if it's not in line with what
Yeah.
God says, if it is not good, then you have to stick to what God is putting in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's quite clear cut, if I'm honest.
Mm.
And the consequences that come through it, yeah, there will be consequence, but God is still, He has a plan for you. He will help you, He will prosper you, He'll make sure that no harm comes your way. And if it does, He is with you through it all. So with this, you know that you've got Christ with you.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
got a hand from the twins.
I was just thinking of what is it? Ruth and Naomi. Now wasn't the mother, but she was the mother-in-law,
Yeah.
and the effect that Naomi had on Ruth. You know, when she had the opportunity to leave, she wouldn't because she loved her so much and she liked the way she lived. She liked her religion, and that
Mm.
was a witness that Naomi had on Ruth.
Mm.
You know, so you should respect your parents and also your in-laws. You know, your
Yeah.
in-laws as well.
So she was a good in-law.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Ruth chose her to live with rather than
And
her
go back to her
family,
people.
because she
Mm.
probably could have seen all the,
Mm.
ungodly
Things they were doing.
things, that was going up in their
Because-
society.
Yeah, because it was heathen.
Well, and that reminds me of the well-worn phrase that the blood is thicker than water.
That's
However,
right, yeah. Yeah.
the full thing itself is the blood of the covenant. It's thicker than the water of the womb.
Mm.
So it's a case of if there's people standing by God and you know that's the right thing to do, that's your people.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be a case of you owe your parents perhaps everything just because of the blood like
Mm.
you have between you, but it's also about the people you choose to be around and the good example that you're seeing from them, like I said earlier about spreading the light.
Mm. Lovely.
Lovely. So next slide is I believe it's a new section. So many are now breaking the fifth commandment.
Yeah. So many are now breaking the fifth commandment. In these last days, children are so noted for their disobedience and disrespect that God has especially noticed it and it constitutes a sign that the end is near. It shows that Satan has almost complete control of the mind of the young. By many, age is no more respected. There are many children who profess to know the truth, who do not render to their parents the honor and affection that are due to them, who manifest but little love to father and mother, and fail to honor them in deferring to their wishes or in seeking to relieve them of anxiety. Many who profess to be Christians do not know what it means to honor thy father and thy mother, and consequently will know just as little what it means that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
Hmm. This is a very poignant paragraph, I feel. It's we can happily, not happily, that's the wrong word. We can definitely say that children are noted to disobedience, especially in modern times.
Mm,
Um, as a teacher working with children, you see it a lot, and um, there are situations where I can't even comprehend someone not like doing as they're told, for example.
mm,
And yet for them it can be so second nature, so inbuilt that they won't listen because of either the example they've been set or the lack of example.
mm,
They run as if they are in control sometimes, and it shows a lack of authoritative figure and respect.
mm,
It says here, many children profess to know the truth and do not render to their parents the honor and affection due to them. So people think they're doing the right thing, but it's anathema to what we know is true, which is the following of the word, honoring the mother and father as per the commandment.
mm,
Many do think they know more, and the fact that Satan will go for the young is something we know to be very true, because if you were going to try and stop a legacy,
mm,
you would start with the heirs. You would go for the ones who are about to go for it. If they're going to be the continuation, that's where you cut it off. You don't try to stop the elders,
mm,
you try to stop the ones who are new, because then you cause a break in the chain.
mm. That's cold. Right. Does anyone have anything that they wanted to add to that? I feel like if I added anything to that, I would have watered it down. So, if not, we can move on to the next slide.
I must have done a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take that.
I think so too. Right. So, in this rebellious age, children who have not received right instruction and discipline have but little sense of their obligation to their parents. It is often the case that the more their parents do for them, the more ungrateful they are and the less they respect them. Children who have been petted and waited upon also expect it. Always, sorry, expect it. And if their expectations are not met, they are disappointed and discouraged. The same disposition will be seen through their whole lives. They will be helpless, leaning upon others for aid, expecting others to favor them and yield to them. And if they are opposed, even after they have grown to manhood and womanhood, they think themselves abused, and thus they worry their way through the world, hardly able to bear their own weight, often murmuring and fretting because everything does not suit them.
So spoiled, basically. To put it in shorter terms, spoiled children. Definitely a thing we see. I mean, we live in an age of iPad children. You know, infants using iPads because it's quicker and easier to keep them quiet than traditional methods that have better effects in the long run. Um, I can happily say that we're not like that, but there is this element of if they don't face controversy is the wrong word, but if they don't face some sort of adversity to teach them the kind of balance of
Mm,
life where you won't always get your way, then it becomes an expectation. And once it becomes an expectation, it's really hard to take that away. It's way easier to say, well, actually, this is the real life, how it will be, but introduce more good stuff, that's not a problem. If
mm,
you, however, go, here's all the good stuff ever, and then take it away even sequentially or all at once,
mm.
that causes a problem. So it is about the spoiling of them and the kind of not, I don't know, not seeing the bigger picture.
Do you know, I think with this, it's a really hard balancing act
Mm,
because I think about like my childhood. I don't think we were ever denied anything really. Like if we had asked for something or we'd wanted something, my parents would always make that effort
The
to get
effort.
it for us.
Hmm.
It would always be there. And I'm not saying that we made any ridiculous requests, unless mum and dad, you're telling me that we have. But, you know, everything that we could ever think of or ask for, my parents would give. Now, would I say that that's us spoiled? No, because there would be times where the no would be a no and the yes would be a yes.
Hmm.
But it's to find that right balance, knowing that on this occasion I have to say no.
But then I would counter that with the balance there is the expectation you've given the child. So the child is only asking for things that are reasonable to ask for and achievable. If a child is asking for them to have their own Mercedes Benz by the time they're 18, however, you drive a Ford Focus, like there's a
Stop.
certain element of you need to keep their kind of expectations in check because
Yeah,
waited on is fine to a degree.
yeah,
So it depends on how you raise them to and what they're asking for.
sure enough.
So I would imagine you were, and it's only because you're my wife, and I'm sure you're very sensible as a kid as well, but you wouldn't have asked for outlandish things, but they could still wait upon your reasonable requests.
True enough. Well, we've got my parents on the call, so they could answer
Let's
if they
ask
wanted
them.
to. But has anyone got any opinion on this paragraph? Don't feel afraid to unmute yourselves.
If not, it's not a problem.
Might have some questions to help prompt.
Yep.
What time do you finish? 8
I'm
o'clock?
not too.
Might have to refer to
It's
the
8
title twins.
o'clock.
It started late, so you can finish late.
Fantastic. Should we go for about quarter past?
Yeah.
Yeah, quarter past, that's fine, yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay then. Let's have a look. So, we haven't quite made it there yet. No, I don't think I have anything to add to this by what we've said already. I think I'm quite happy to move on to the next one if we're all in agreement, at least, of what's being said here and the application of it to the modern life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So now we have made it to the No Place in Heaven for Ungrateful Children, which is a very nice segue from where we were. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Apologies. So it says here, I saw that Satan had blinded the minds of the youth that they could not comprehend the truths of God's word. Their sensibilities are so blunted that they regard not the injunctions of the holy apostle. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the new earth. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Children who dishonor and disobey their parents and disregard their advice and instructions can have no part in the earth made new. The purified new earth will be no place for the rebellious, disobedient, the ungrateful son or daughter. Unless such learn obedience, sorry, unless such learn obedience and submission here, they will never learn it. The peace of the ransomed will not be marred by disobedient, unruly, unsubmissive children. No commandment breaker can inherit the kingdom of heaven.
Mm.
This is very emotive, I feel. This is sort of back to that first paragraph where it was quite a strong moral use of language here. So we've got, for example, disobedient, unruly, unsubmissive, and a commandment breaker. These are quite heavy labels and quite sort of accusatory. Obviously, it's grounded on something firm, so it's not an accusation but founded in truth. But this is very punchy, and I think this probably is, if you, for any reason, did not have the rest of it available to you, this would probably get through to you the strongest. It's the idea that you have to do things pleasing unto the Lord, and if you don't do those things, then you are not going to reap the benefit. Quite simply, and even in our sermon today, Pastor said about, or actually it was the reading, so it was someone on platform said about how those who reap, no, those who sow sparsely will reap sparsely, and those who sow bountifully will reap bountifully. And it correlates with this, the fact that if you are a miscreant who is not involved or not of the right attitude, then you're not going to benefit from the things of those who do.
Mm. If your foundation isn't correct, nothing can thrive there.
No.
So here it's so children who dishonor, disobey their parents and disregard their advice and instruction. Truthfully, how then can you respect God? How can you regard him? It's like that previous slide. Let me go back to it and see if I can get to it. Where it says, do you know where it says about God, parents being that authority?
Yeah, stand in
There
the
it
place
is.
of God.
So, during the earlier years of life, parents shall stand in the place of God to their children. So like we were saying, it's, the twins pointed out with Brielle, for example, it's
So
she
stand,
doesn't
yeah.
understand when I say God. At first, she doesn't quite understand it.
Mm.
So we are that authority to her to
Yeah.
begin with
If she
until
could understand, we are that
exactly,
to her.
exactly. And as she grows up and that understanding really starts to set in, she'll then see God and know God for herself.
Mm.
And we no longer are in that position.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to what we we're talking about here, if you can't respect that foundation to begin with, that primary example, how are you then going to see the Almighty and truly understand them? Like
Mm.
I said, it's this, what we have here on earth, our parents are tangible.
Yeah.
You can hold that. You can't as easily hold God.
No.
How can they respect and love God so easily? They can't even respect us on earth.
Mm.
Does anyone have anything they want to add to this?
And that's one of the reasons why your children must see Jesus in you.
Yeah.
If we're calling ourselves Christians, we must reflect the character of Christ in our homes. It's not just at church. We should be acting as though we're holy and righteous when the home is on fire. We have to, like when we were raising you lot as children, we try our best to be like Jesus in our character, the way we carry ourselves. We might fail in some areas, but the fact that you're trying to be like Jesus, you're the only Jesus. As parents, or you and Brielle, that Brielle will know. So if you live Christ, Brielle will grow up in the footsteps. The same, she will pattern your example as we pattern Christ, isn't it? So it's the duty of the parents as well is very heavy, because if we take our duty lightly, then our children is gonna slight us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that you said about how the duty is heavy because I want to talk about the sacrifices that parents make. And I think, to be fair, this was in the very first part about them being indebted to parents. But you know, as a parent, you give up a lot for a child. And it may not be necessarily a conscious giving up. It is just simply the fact that you are a parent now and things are different. Um, and parental roles demand that of you.
Yeah.
Like it can't be helped.
can't
And
be
that's
the
where
same.
the gratitude comes from. So a child that is ungrateful I by no means have been particularly successful in any kind of hobby or interest or sport, whatever of mine. But like if I was in like a semi-pro something, I would struggle to do that now because I'd rather be looking after my child and making sure she's well and happy. So if it demands time and you stop doing that to devote it to your child, the child, I'm not saying you should then press it upon them and like, oh, I've given up time for you or
No, but you have then, you've sacrificed you
yeah,
to then give them everything that you can.
yeah.
Because I think about it a lot. There are a lot of like mothers, for example, like that's not even talking about going pro in
No,
a
no,
sport,
but
but
just
there are mothers
giving
that have
birth.
to, not that, they have to sacrifice their career.
Yeah,
Everything that they had done once before,
that's what I
they
mean.
then
It
have to
stops.
sacrifice all of that.
Yeah,
It's either put on hold or it stops completely
yeah.
so that they can then, bring up the child in the way that they need to go, make sure that they've got everything that they possibly can have
Mm.
from their their mother.
I mean, to my knowledge, my mum went from full-time working to part-time once she had children.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, that has an impact. That changes the way your day looks. That changes the way your holiday looks because in terms of, pro rata and organizing
Mm.
time, trying to get time off when children have time off
Mhm.
or when they haven't got anywhere to be like nursery or wherever, it also impacts finances. Like there are so many factors to it that a child won't understand. A child is not gonna go, my goodness, mummy, I'm so glad that you did that for me. They might, but it's unlikely. But it's something that as they mature and as you can like explain and help them see, they'll see the sacrifices and the things that you've done for them.
Mm.
So I'm the question I've got here, how can we help young adults? So we're talking that more mature, younger person, recognize the cost and labor of parenting without making them feel guilty. So like I said, I'm not trying to say to a child, I had to give up my Sunday hobby for you, or I had to leave work early and bring work home or whatever, depending on what you do. But you want them to maybe see you and acknowledge
I don't know
something.
how easy that is to introduce without them being near enough in that stage of their life.
Yeah.
Because I'll admit, if my parents had these sat me down and had this conversation with me about how, you'd have to sacrifice all of this and all of that,
Mm.
it would be a heavy conversation.
And I think this scares many people from having a family.
Exactly. So it's not until, we've had our child where I've sat there and gone, oh boy, this, and my parents had twins.
Mm.
They had my brother.
Mm.
That's heavy. Like that's why I've sat back and gone, whoa, hold on, that was a lot, and you didn't tell me it was this much. I don't think you'll ever truly understand how heavy it is until
You're there.
one, you have the conversation or you're in that storm
Yeah.
yourself.
Mm.
Like, yes, if we could bring up these conversations and maybe not make it sound as if it was a
A guilt trip
sacrifice,
or
even though
yeah.
it is a sacrifice you have to
But it's a
make.
willful one. That's the
Yeah,
thing, it's a willful one. Like no one's gone into it eyes shut. Like it's an eyes wide
I
open
might have been
thing.
squinting.
Might be squinting, but it's not an eyes wide shut, is it?
Yeah. But I think that is something that can be brought up, these conversations. And I think it's the platforms that I would use personally are more like the AWIs. I'd talk a little bit more about um not the struggles of parenting, because it's not a struggle, but it's what is it that you have to sacrifice?
Mm.
It's no longer about me or you or
This is it. It's
I.
a third party now.
Yeah, now it's we and ultimately our child.
Mm.
That we, the child is in that we. It's not me and you, it's us. So what is it that we have to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Another punchy, nice paragraph here. Um, I don't know if you does anyone have anything else to add to that, or should we move on to the love to be manifested?
I think we should round up because we should probably not
Yeah.
finish those two.
Sorry, say again.
We're gonna rush that if we do that now.
Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah.
Go ahead there. Yeah.
Awesome. So, does anyone have anything that they'd like to say about today's session thus far? We do have a little bit left that we will do next week rather than running through it all today. Because I feel like if we run through it, we're gonna miss the
Some
essence of it.
nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are gonna conclude if no one has anything further to say on the topic. I shall take the silence as there's nothing further.
Absolutely. What we'll do next week when we meet again is we'll do a little recap of what we have done
Yeah.
before we move into the last two, and that'll give us a bit more time just to sort of unpack everything and make it a productive,
Yeah. Sounds good.
fun time. Yeah, good stuff.
Brilliant. So we will conclude here. What we'll do is we'll say a word of prayer and then we'll be done. Right.
Lovely. So shall we pray? Dear our kind and loving Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the ability we have to have these sessions, to speak with one another, fellowship, and meditate on your word and the prophecy that you've granted unto us. We only want to be better people, and we hope that from these lessons, regardless of our stages in life or where we're at in our Christian journey, that we can take something and that it will be pleasing unto you, and that we will do good things so that we can all get that grasp of heaven that we are trying to gain to. I pray that you will bless everyone who has been here tonight, bless everyone that hears this message, and I pray that you will give us a bountiful rest as we go into this new day. I pray these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
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 Thank you for the study, Abby and Thomas. Really enjoyed it. We were
God
blessed.
bless and keep you.
Yes, it was a blessing, and we'd like to thank you. We look forward to next week's.
We do.
Amen. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you all again next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll just give the announcements at 4:45 morning prayer,
6 o'clock, Desire of Ages.
and then at 12 o'clock it will be midday prayer, and the speaker is Pastor Peter Sayers. He's in his 80s, but he's a
He's a fiery preacher.
he's a fiery preacher. He's good, and we've known him for years. And then at 6:30 it'll be song service, and I believe it's the health week this coming week, the health emphasis week. So have a nice evening, everyone, and see you all later. Good night. Don't
Good evening. Good night. God
Good
bless.
night. And
Good night.
definitely the 22nd to the 28th of December for our winter retreat. So good night.
Good night.
Good night.